Hey everyone, welcome back to America in Mind, where your voice still matters. And every episode asks the question, is this what we want for America? America stands at a crossroads. Charlie Kirk's tragedy was not just the loss of a man, but the tearing away of something far greater, our confidence that words, not bullets, still hold power in this nation. For generations, we have prided ourselves on being a people who could disagree fiercely, yet walk away as neighbors. A people who believed that debate and discussion were the tools of a free society. But today, that belief lies wounded, bleeding alongside the memory of Charlie Kirk. A single shot silenced his voice, but it also echoed across every state, every home, every heart that still dares to believe in freedom. That shot was not only aimed at him, it was aimed at you, at me, at every American who refuses to bow to the demands of the mob. And now we must ask ourselves, what kind of nation have we become? When a man can be gunned down for speaking, when silence is demanded instead of debate, when fear replaces freedom, what future are we handing down to our children? I'll tell you this, that future is not guaranteed. It will be shaped by what we choose to do in this moment, in this time, right now. And we have to ask the question, is this what we want for our country? Welcome to America in Mind, where we don't chase clicks, we chase truth. We have a lot to get into, so let's dive in. Yesterday, September 10th, 2025, America was shocked. A line was crossed that we never thought we would see in this country. Conservative leader and commentator Charlie Kirk was shot and killed during an event at Utah Valley University. This wasn't just a headline. It wasn't just breaking news. It was a moment that stopped Americans in their tracks, because deep down, we understood. This wasn't just an attack on a man. It was an attack on free speech, on political discourse, and on the America we thought we knew. This was not Dallas, 1963. This was not Memphis, 1968. This was Utah, 2025. And once again, a voice was silenced, not by debate, not by reason, but by the pull of a trigger. For generations, Americans have believed that you could speak your mind, even if others disagreed, that our battles were fought with words and ideas, not bullets. But with one shot, that belief was shattered. Charlie Kirk's assassination wasn't simply meant to silence him. It was meant to send a message to every voice like his. Be quiet, or else. And so we pause, not just to mourn the life lost, but to confront the hard truth that the freedoms we once took for granted are no longer guaranteed. What happened on September 10th is not just history being written. It is a warning to us all. Charlie was speaking outdoors as part of his American Prove Me Wrong tour. It was supposed to be a day of discussion, debate, and open speech, the very things that make this country free. Young people gathered on the campus of Utah Valley University, some in support, others ready to challenge his ideas. That's what America has always been about. Agreeing, disagreeing, but having the right to speak. But from a building nearly 200 yards away, hidden and distant, a gunman took aim. One single shot was fired. One single bullet struck Charlie Kirk in the neck, and in an instant, his voice was silenced. The crowd scattered in panic, their cheers and debates replaced with screams and chaos. What began as a forum of ideas turned, in a heartbeat, into a scene of horror. Authorities quickly swarmed the area. They are calling it a targeted attack, possibly a political assassination. A person of interest was detained and questioned, but later released. Tonight, the identity and the motives of the shooter remain unclear, and that uncertainty leaves a haunting truth. Somewhere out there, someone made the deliberate choice to take the life of a man whose only weapon was his voice. That is not just violence, that is terror. That is the attempted murder of free speech itself. Some leaders have spoken out and condemned the violence. Utah's governor called it a dark day. A few Democrats joined Republicans in acknowledging the seriousness of what had happened. But not all could bring themselves to do the same. In Congress, when a moment of silence was requested for Charlie Kirk, Democrats actually protested it.
The chair would ask that all members present in the chamber and those in the gallery please rise for a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family. Let's, wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Shh. The House will be in order. Shh. The House will be in order. We will join prayer right after this, okay? The chair lays before the House a communication. The House will be in order.
Think about that. At a time when America should be united in mourning, they couldn't even bow their heads for 30 seconds. A man had been assassinated on American soil, and instead of setting politics aside, they chose to double down on division. Even those who disagreed with Kirk politically should have been able to recognize the weight of this moment. It was not about agreeing with his views. It was about recognizing his humanity, the simple decency of honoring a life cut short. Their refusal stripped away the mask. It showed the country what many of us already know, that to many on the left, this isn't tragedy, it's politics. And that is the sickness eating away at our nation's political culture. When you cannot stop for even 30 seconds to show respect for a fallen American, then politics has poisoned the soul. And when politics reaches that level of hatred, it is no longer about left versus right. It is about right versus wrong, good versus evil. Charlie Kirk's death is more than a personal loss. It is more than the silencing of one voice. It is a warning shot to the rest of us, a chilling reminder that in today's America, speaking truth can come at the highest price. If America cannot protect the voices of conservatives, then free speech itself is under siege. Because free speech is not just about the right to speak. It is the cornerstone of every other freedom we hold dear. And when one side of the political spectrum is hunted, harassed, and now assassinated for daring to speak, it tells us that liberty itself is in mortal danger. We must ask ourselves, are we still a nation that settles disagreements with words and ideas, or have we surrendered to the politics of destruction? Have we traded the marketplace of ideas for the battlefield of hate? We've reached a place where political disagreement is too often treated as warfare, where hatred replaces debate, where violence replaces words, and now where a bullet replaces a microphone. When a man can be gunned down in broad daylight, in front of young people at a university, it raises a painful question that cuts to the core. What is happening to the soul of America? And here's the truth. The left doesn't want to admit. They keep preaching about defending democracy, but America is not a pure democracy. We are a constitutional representative republic. Our rights don't come from mob rule. They come from God, enshrined in the Constitution and protected by law. And the real threat to that republic isn't conservatives. It is the left. Because every time they silence dissent, cancel opposition, or justify violence against their political enemies, they aren't protecting democracy. They are destroying the republic itself. What kind of nation do we leave behind if this continues? A nation where people are too afraid to speak, too afraid to stand, too afraid to believe in anything at all? Or a nation where truth and courage still matter, even when it costs everything? That is the choice before us now. In my opinion, this was not just violence in isolation. This was an attack from the left, an attack on American rights, on American culture, and on the very foundations of who we are. And we must recognize, this fits into a growing pattern. We've seen assassination attempts on President Trump. We've seen violent protests turn our streets into war zones. We've seen churches and schools turned into shooting grounds. We've seen riots and looting rip apart communities. We've watched BLM burn buildings and businesses to the ground, destroying livelihoods while claiming it was justice. This is not the America our parents and grandparents handed down to us. Conservatives have never sought to silence or harm liberal speakers. We may disagree, but we believe in God, in the Constitution, and in America as it once was, strong, principled, and rooted in freedom. That is the America we fight to preserve. This attack was born of a culture of hatred toward conservatives. For years, the left has demonized voices like Charlie Kirk's. They have painted conservative Americans as enemies, not fellow citizens. When you foster that kind of climate, when you dehumanize and treat opposition as evil, you should not be surprised when violence follows. I believe this attack was politically motivated, an attack from the left against a man who represented conservative values. And if we don't confront this reality, then we risk seeing even more violence against those who dare to stand up for freedom, faith, and traditional values. And make no mistake, Charlie was killed because he spoke the truth, because they couldn't debate him, and because he stood in their way. And yes, I'm talking about the left, the so-called tolerant liberals. Liberals don't debate, they silence. They don't persuade, they cancel. And when you fuel that kind of hatred, when you teach people that conservatives are enemies instead of fellow citizens, it leads to moments like this, where a man is gunned down for daring to speak. Charlie Kirk is gone, but his voice doesn't have to be. Whether you agreed with him or not, remember what he stood for, speaking out boldly, unapologetically in the public square. Let us also be clear, this was an attack from the left, not only on Charlie Kirk, but on American rights and on American culture itself. Conservatives have never wished or caused harm on liberal speakers, never got on social media and praised, laughed, and celebrated a liberal death. We debate, we argue, but we do not silence. We believe in God, in the Constitution, and in America as it once was. A nation strong in its values, grounded in faith, and proud of its freedom. Liberals don't debate, they silence. They don't persuade, they cancel. But we must not fall into that trap. We must honor Charlie Kirk by recommitting ourselves to open debate, to protecting free speech, and to ensuring that violence is never the answer. But I ask you this, since when is a conservative exercising their right to free speech a death sentence? Is that who we have become? Is that what American liberals stand for now? Elimination instead of conversation? I'm not calling for violence against the left, but I am asking, when is enough enough? How long do we let liberals shove their agenda down our throats, mock our values, and cheer when we are silenced? They don't want conversation, they want control. They don't want debate, they want dominance. This is more than politics. This is a war of good versus evil. And there comes a time when God-fearing, America-loving, law-abiding conservatives must rise up and say with one voice, no more. No more lies. No more hatred. No more attacks on our rights, our families, and our culture. This is not a call to hatred. It is a call to courage, a call to strength, a call to defend the America we love. The America built on freedom, faith, and sacrifice. We are not the enemy of this nation. We are this nation, and we will not stand by while the country handed down to us by our parents and grandparents is torn apart. The time has come to stand boldly, speak unapologetically, and fight, not with violence, but with truth, with conviction, and with unshakable faith in God and the Constitution. Because if we don't, America as we know it will slip away forever. This is America in mind. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and may God save our country. Drop a comment below, and let's keep this conversation going. If you're someone who believes truth still matters, and that America is worth thinking about, then like, share, and subscribe. This is America in mind. Stay grounded, stay vigilant, stay informed, and mostly, stay free.